Thank you and welcome into this video. I would like to walk you through the highly contested and controversial clause in the Finance Bill 2026-2027 that was calling for an introduction of taxation of mobile phone devices at the point of activation rather than when they are imported. So though it raised a lot of public pressure and the parliament ended up dropping it, this is how it is suggested because it was just a change in the model which the levy was collected, and also some things which I will touch which led the bill to appear somehow controversial. So in order to understand this, you just need to understand the area correction or mode of correction of taxes on the importation of mobile phone devices in the country. So I would like to touch the old system. So under the old system, it was historically a fragmented collection system where when the importer imported these devices, he was supposed to pay a lot of taxes and levies regarding these device. One of the tax which he was supposed to pay, he was supposed to pay an import duty, a railway development levy, an import declaration fee, an excess duty, and the value added tax which we call VAT. These technically resulted to an increase or a rise in the cost of the phone by about 55% on the value of the phone. So when the phone get into the country, this value was increased close to 55% due to these additional levies which are subjected to this device. But now when we come into the newer system, which was trying to simplify this method of the collection of the taxes, though it was controversial in its own sense, it was calling for a harmonized tax, which was a single tax, which was an excise duty, which was to be charged at a rate of 25%, which was straightforward. You are supposed to pay 25%, and this was to be done at the point of activation of this device. What this meant at activation of this device, it meant when the customer comes into a shop and buys this phone, this is the period when the activation is usually done. So this is the time when this amount was supposed to be paid. So this was working in the benefit of the importers since they could be able to import high units of phone because the importation cost could go as low as possible. But now when it gets to selling this phone, the shelf price could seem to be low, and it could lead to something we call the purchaser shock, because the value in the shelf of that phone, it could appear to be low, but when you come to pay that phone at the counter, you could be told to pay an excise duty, which is 25% of the value of that phone, which could be very high, and it could be discourage a lot of people from purchasing new smartphones. And this could have a ripple effect, which could lead to a booming black market of old phone, which usually translate to theft of mobile phone in Nairobi. So this had its ripple effect in the market, though it could have acted at an advantage of the phone importers, who could be able to import a high volume of this phone at a very low cost. But the reason why the KRA wanted, or why the Treasury was suggesting to harmonize these taxes, one of the reason was the tax simplification purposes, and also it was to a tax relief and liquidity to the local vendors, not having to pay a very huge upfront taxes on inventory sitting on their shelves, which was constraining their cash flow. So it could have increased their cash flow as the importers at the expense of the consumer who will get into the counter and get the purchase shock. Also, it generated some concern and criticism from different organizations and from the public. So, despite the government explaining what they were trying to get by doing this, it introduced a surveillance risk, because this means that the government is able to track this device from the point when the buyer purchased this from the shop. So it could increase surveillance of these devices, which we know due to what we have faced and a lot of abduction. It could be risky, and Kenyans are susceptible on sharing their mobile phone information, like the MIE number of their device. Also, it could lead to digital access barrier, where consumers were advocating for it once for the increase in the price of the internet-enabled devices. So the internet-enabled devices, these are the phones which we buy. They could get expensive when it gets to the consumer side due to the surprise shock which the purchaser shock which I'm trying to explain, where the purchaser see the phone appear with a low price in the shop, but when it comes to the payment, the value of the phone rises or hikes at a very high price. So this is more transparent when it comes even to this purchase of TVs in Rodhuris, where people are being conned, and you get that you're supposed to pay a monthly subscription of this TV, though the shop price look to be very low. But when you buy, this is where there is some information gap and some moral hazardness will start. Now it's what we call adverse information, where the seller will be having a lot of more information than the buyer, and the buyer will be seeing low prices appearing in the shop of the phone. But when they have already gotten this phone and they are making payment, they are being told you need to pay this additional amount. So we know how the market usually works. So this is what it means. So in order to understand what it meant, you needed to first understand the order model and how it functioned. So that is what I wanted to share with you. In case you have any query, you can reach me at a personal level using my contact in the description and also in my YouTube channel. So thank you for watching and have a nice day ahead.